All right, today we're going to break down the art of persuasion. We're going to dive into how you can take pretty much any idea and forge it into a powerful, convincing, and yet practically bulletproof argument. So let's get right into it.
You know the feeling. We've all been there. You've got the facts on your side, you're passionate about your point, but for some reason it just fizzles out. It doesn't land, and it is so frustrating, right? But what if I told you that winning an argument isn't about being the loudest person in the room, it's about being the most structured?
Okay, so before we can even start building a knockout argument, we have to understand the bedrock it stands on. You see, there are these fundamental rules that make all effective communication tick, whether we're talking about a quick text or a complex scientific paper.
That's right. Every single piece of communication that actually connects with someone, that makes sense and hits its mark, is built on a few core universal standards. Think of them as the hidden architecture that makes clarity possible.
First up is a big one, cohesion. Now, the best way to think about this is like the mortar between the bricks in a wall. It's the glue, the connecting words, the pronouns, the consistent terms that help your sentences flow together perfectly, guiding your listener from one point to the next without them even noticing. It's all about that smooth ride.
Next, we have cohesion's deeper, brainier cousin, coherence. Look, if cohesion is the mortar holding the bricks together, coherence is the architectural blueprint for the entire building. It makes sure that all your ideas actually belong together and support one central theme. It's the aha, I get it now factor that makes the whole thing make sense.
And rounding out our foundational trio is intentionality. This is all about your why. What is your goal here? What are you trying to achieve? Every single word you choose, every piece of evidence you bring up, it should all be laser-focused on hitting that specific target, whether it's to persuade, to inform, or just to entertain.
Okay, so we've got our foundation poured. Now it's time to look at the structure itself, the actual blueprint. And luckily for us, the most effective arguments have followed a simple and, frankly, incredibly powerful pattern for centuries.
You see, a truly great argument isn't just you throwing a list of random facts at someone. No way. It's a web, a network, where every single point supports every other point, creating this incredibly strong structure that's really tough to pull apart. Each piece has its own job to do.
And here it is, the classic three-act structure of persuasion. It's so simple, but it just works. You start with an introduction to hook your audience and lay out your main point, your thesis. Then, in the body, you build your case with solid evidence and, this is absolutely crucial, you tackle the other side's points, the counter-arguments. And finally, your conclusion wraps it all up and drives your main point home one last time.
So now we have our foundation, and we have our blueprint, but we need the tools to actually build this thing, right? These are the power tools of logical reasoning that give your points their real force and precision.
The two biggest tools you've got in your kit are deductive and inductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning, that's like a funnel. It starts with a big general truth and funnels it down to a specific, guaranteed conclusion. You know, all men are mortal, Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is mortal. Boom, certain. Inductive reasoning is the opposite. It's like building a pyramid. You stack up a bunch of specific examples or observations to build up to a broader, probable conclusion. Both are essential for making different kinds of points.
And hey, the list goes on. You can use analogy, right? Comparing something complex to something simple to help people understand. You can use causal reasoning to show a crystal clear link that A definitely causes B. You can even get fancy with a contrario logic, arguing that if a rule applies one way, the opposite must apply in the opposite situation. The more tools you have, the more you can build.
All right, so we've learned how to build something strong, but now comes a super important step, quality control. Every builder has to know how to spot the cracks in the foundation, the fatal flaws. In the world of arguments, we call these logical fallacies. And here's the thing about fallacies. They're tricky. They often sound really convincing on the surface, but underneath, they're built on a mistake in logic. Honestly, learning to spot these is like a superpower. It helps you strengthen your own arguments, and it helps you see the weakness in others. Let me show you 4 of the most common traps to watch out for. There's the straw man, where you attack a twisted, weaker version of someone's actual argument. Then you have the bandwagon, which is basically, hey, everyone's doing it, so it must be right. There's also the slippery slope, which claims that one small step will inevitably lead to total disaster. And finally, circular reasoning, which is an argument that just chases its own tail, like saying, this is the best plan because it's better than all the others. You got to avoid these like the plague.
Okay, Let's bring it all home. We've looked at the foundation, we've got the blueprint, we've gathered our tools, and we know which traps to avoid. So now, let's see what the finished product actually looks like. It really all boils down to this simple but incredibly powerful equation. You start with a solid foundation of cohesion and coherence. You build on it with that classic blueprint. You use your sharpest logical tools. And then you do a final check to remove any of those tricky fallacies. You do all that, and what you're left with is a truly persuasive, bulletproof argument.
So, there you have it. You've got the schematic, you understand the architecture behind a powerful idea. The only question left is, what are you going to build with it? What argument are you going to make that could change a mind, or maybe even change the world? Thanks for joining me.